Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Taylor. I'm 11 years old and I've started the Ladybug Foundation to help the homeless. Ladybugs are good luck and they're my mascot.
What I came here to talk about is why I care about the homeless and why we all must care about people without a home.
When I was 5 years old, my mom and I saw a man eating out of a garbage can. I was very sad and felt sick about that. I asked my mom why he had to do that. She said because he was down on his luck and was homeless and hungry. I felt so sorry for him. For a very long time, I thought of that man and worried about where he was and what he would be eating. I talked to my mom about homelessness a lot. Why, I asked. If everybody shared what they had, could that cure homelessness? Then I started school, and one day when I was coming to school, I saw another homeless person. Everything she had was in one grocery cart. Now my heart was too sad. That night before I went to bed, I wished I could cure homelessness. Everybody needs a home. I love my home. My mom told me that sometimes when you worry and feel sad about things, if you do something to help change the problem, your heart won't feel so sad. She was right. I don't worry so much anymore because I know I can help and so can you. Over the past 5 years, I've learned a lot about homelessness, and I've had the chance to teach people about homelessness. I've talked to thousands of people. I believe that if people know about homelessness, that there are people living without a home, they'll want to help. They definitely have. Everyone from my past Prime Minister, to big bosses across Canada, to my friends in Winnipeg making ladybug jars, and lots of other people from all over the world have listened and helped in a million ways. We still have a long way to go. Together we can help. We all have so much. We just need to share a little bit of what we have and care about each other always. I've made many friends, but there are 5 very special ones I want to tell you about. One man named Rick lives in Winnipeg. I met him at a homeless shelter where he goes for food and love. He's a beautiful person, and when I met him, he cried. I asked him why he was crying, and he said because I was hugging him and looking at him and talking to him. He said they were happy tears. Now when I see him, he doesn't do that so much. He's a good friend to me, and once when I visited him at the hospital, he just made me feel so special to him. We sat together and talked together. I brought him my Nana's lemon bread and a cozy blanket. He is close to my heart, and he is a good person. I have a picture of us together. He wore his best shirt the day they took our picture. He is just like you and me. He just needs someone to care about him. I told him I care about him, and I always will. I have some great news about Rick. I just had lunch with him, and he has worked really hard. He has a job now, and he has found a place to call home. Rick did it! He showed me that kindness and hard work and caring from all of us gives people hope. And when you have hope in your heart, all things are possible. When Rick took me to see his home, it felt like Christmas to me. Rick having a home is the best present ever. My next friend lives in Toronto. I met him when I was on a holiday there. He was working on a street corner. I stopped to fill his asking cup with money from my purse. I dumped all of my change into his cup, hugged him, and walked away. 20 minutes later, he came up behind us. He had been looking for me all that time. He had my Ladybug Good Luck charm in his hand. I had accidentally dropped it into his asking cup, and he wanted me to have it back. I hugged him and asked him what his name was. He said my name is Carrie, and then he said that no one ever asks him that. We talked for a while, and I asked him if he works here every day. He said most days. I said I would come back and visit him every day I could. He was so skinny, and he had hardly any teeth, but he had the very brightest smile. My third friend's name is Brian, and I met him at one of my favorite homeless shelters. He is the kindest person I ever met, and I want to tell you why. 3 years ago at Christmas time, I went back to visit him for dinner. He was sitting across from a homeless man who seemed very sad. Brian had just got a beautiful winter vest to keep himself warm with for Christmas. When Brian sat down and looked at his friend who seemed so sad, he took off his new vest and he said, "You seem to need this vest more than I do. Merry Christmas." Brian gave his new Christmas vest away to the sad, sad man. When I saw this, I knew Brian was one of the kindest people I had ever met. It was my friend Brian who gave me this beautiful ladybug cake. It is one of the most special gifts I've ever been given. I was at a shelter helping serve lunch and get ready for Christmas last year when my friend showed up. Brian had heard I was there and he had a gift for me. He handed me a wrapped package and said, "Hannah, last summer at the clothing bank, I went through thousands of boxes to find a gift for you. And then I saw it, this cape.
It was perfect. It was like magic that he found it for me. He saved the cape with him since summer so he could give it to me for Christmas. I know this cape shows us all that if we never give up and we care enough for each other, anything is possible."
My next friend's name is Eileen. I met her in Victoria in front of her Rogers candy store. She had her cap on the ground asking for help. I stopped to help and my mom and I started to talk to her. I asked her name and where she slept, and she started to cry the biggest tears I've ever seen. I think they were happy and sad tears. They were happy because we were talking to her and being kind to her, but they were sad tears too because nobody ever talks to her. I want to see Eileen again when I'm back in Victoria.
My other friend's name is Layla. We met 2 years ago. She was from Spain, she was 10, and she was homeless. Layla lived at a shelter in London, Ontario with her mom and brother. We played and went to the London Children's Museum together. And even though we didn't speak the same language, we became great friends. She was brave and fun and beautiful. She showed me around the shelter, and they had only one small room, so that was her bedroom too. I wondered to myself where she would go if she didn't have this shelter. I was glad she had the shelter, but wished she had a home and her own bedroom like I do. When we said goodbye, we both felt sad, but promised we would write and stay in touch. We also promised each other that we would wish on the brightest star for each other at bedtime. I wished she would get a home, and in her last letter, she said that the shelter had helped her family get a home. I couldn't wait to see her new bedroom, but then I got terrible news. It's so sad. Layla's father had stolen her and her brother. We're in touch with her mother as she tries to get her children back. And when she does, I'll see Layla again.
We all need to be kinder to each other. I know some people are afraid of homeless people, but they are great people, wrapped in old clothes with sad hearts. Don't be afraid of them, just care for them and be kind to them. When I do work for the Ladybug Foundation, I think of my 5 friends and how we all need to care about them and each other. And I can tell you the best part of doing all this. You remember my friend, Brian? Well, he is not homeless anymore either. He worked really hard, and with help and caring, he is a home now. My friend Julie told me that when she asked Brian how he got off the street. He said, "If Hannah can care about me, I can care about me. And that's the best thing ever. It makes my heart feel hopeful." I get asked a lot of the same questions when I go out and teach people about homelessness, so I will answer a few right now. The number 1 asked question is, am I scared when I speak? No, I'm not scared because no one can see my paper, so they can't tell if I make a mistake. And everyone is friendly and caring, and they just want to hear about homelessness and how they can help. The next question is, how many ladybug jars have I made? Well, I have made with my mom about 4,000. I make the ladybugs and she does the dots. And with lots and lots of help, we deliver the jars around for people to fill with their spare change. How many schools have I talked at? Almost 80 in Winnipeg and other places in Canada, and now in Sweden too. This is one of the best things. I learned so many great things from all the kids, and they want to help and care. When I was younger, I went to this one school. I learned the most beautiful thing from them. We made a chain of hearts together. We stood in a circle and held hands. We touched our hearts and said, "From my heart to your heart." The teacher explained how important it is to have all our hearts connected and caring for each other. Where have I done speeches? At schools, businesses, conferences, and meetings all across Canada, from Victoria, BC to St. John's, Newfoundland. And each one has been a great experience, meeting with great people who want to help and care about others. I've also made speeches in Sweden, where I work each year for the World Children's Prize for the Rights of the Child. Sort of like a Nobel Prize for people helping children around the world.
Will I ever stop helping the homeless? No, not even when I'm 90. I will always help and I will always care. How did I feel the first time I met the Prime Minister? Well, he's the past Prime Minister now.
When I met Mr. Martin, I was expecting a man with a crown and golden robes because of the way all the grown-ups were acting. He came in and looked just like a papa. He was kind and he had a bit of a cold. He was just a regular human with a great smile and a kind heart. I liked him right away. We both spoke and ate lunch together. I've been back to visit him in Ottawa, and I hope the new Prime Minister will help me too. Mr. Harper wrote me a letter a while ago, so I hope to meet him soon.
What is your favorite book? I have a favorite book called The Family of Earth by Shim Shimma. It is just terrific. You should all get it to read. It talks about how we are all connected in the world, how we may seem different, but we all breathe the same air, and deep down we all need the same things. I think we need to remember this when we think about homeless people. They are just like you and me, and we need to know and remember that always.
This book reminds me of my friend Haba from South Africa, who became an AIDS orphan when she was only 5 years old. She is 14 now and was my roommate last April in Sweden at the World's Children's Prize. The first night, just before she and I went to sleep, I said, "Haba, I hope I don't get homesick." Haba asked me, "What is homesick?" I told her that homesick is when you miss your mom and dad so much, you feel like your heart might break. Haba said that I'm homesick all the time. Haba wants and needs the same things I do, even though we live worlds apart from each other. Haba is in my heart forever. She is my special African sister. It was so hard to say goodbye when our time was over in Sweden. But the good part is that for 6 more years, we have been invited to Sweden every spring to work for the human rights of children all over the world. So I will see my African sister every year.
One other question is, how do I feel when someone doesn't want to help the homeless or fill a ladybug jar with spare change? It doesn't hurt my feelings. It does sort of confuse me a little, but I believe that people have their own minds. And my hope is that if they don't care about homeless people, they'll care about something or someone else.
People often ask me who my heroes are. Well, my Nana, that's my grandma, has always been one of my heroes. She is brave, loving, and kind. She has always said I could do anything I put my heart to. She also tells me to do a little miracle every day. She says she learned that from Mother Teresa. I wrote that out and put it on our microwave to remind me to try every day. My Nana showed me how to be strong because she is almost blind and still can do almost anything. I read to her so she can see the story in her head. She has helped me to believe I can help our homeless people and not to be afraid to try. She's beautiful to me, and the best part is that my hero loves me. I look up to her and someday want to be just like her, just not blind, because that would be too hard. I have another hero. I just met him and spent time with him in Ottawa. His name is Stephen Fletcher. He is a member of Parliament, and I want to tell you what he taught me in just one small visit. He told me nothing matters more than family, and to never forget that. He taught me that it is truly Canadian to care, and to care because it's the right thing to do, not because you want anything in return. Mr. Fletcher is quadriplegic from a bad car accident, but he taught me that only his legs and arms are paralyzed, not his big heart and his smart brain. He also taught me that you can run a real good race from a wheelchair. You see, he made them clear the hallway at Parliament Hill, and he and I ran a race so fast down the long hallway. Really, we did that. But most importantly, Mr. Fletcher taught me that when hard things happen in your life, you don't ever stop trying with all your might. You just try with all your might differently.
I'll think of him every time I run a race, for the rest of my forever.
There are other heroes I need to tell you about. There are all the homeless and hungry people in our world. Every day, homeless people are brave and courageous and strong. Every day, they do everything they can just to live till tomorrow. We all need a hero because they help us to know all that is good in the world and what we can be. What are my plans for the future? I hope to try my best in grade 6 and finish writing another book I'm writing. I just started at a brand new school and I love it. I just got my book, Ruby's Hope, published. It's about how I used to think if I gave stuff away, I would have less. But I learned that when you give from your heart, you get so much more. I hope people will read it and like it.
I'm also going to work hard on not getting so homesick when I'm away. I'm not sure how to do this, but my Nana says it just takes growing up to get over that.
Hannah's Place, an 80-bed emergency shelter for our homeless in Winnipeg, is now open. My dream is to continue helping homeless and hunger shelters all over Canada until one day we no longer need them. And we are all working very hard on an education program at the Ladybug Foundation. With the help of great sponsors from all over Canada, it will help kids across Canada get involved and make change. I hope that every child will have the chances I've had. You see, I'm just a regular kid, but because I have learned that when you see a problem, you can learn about it, and then with the help of others, and if you work really hard, Even if you're little, you can make change in our world for the better, and I want everyone to know about that. The Ladybug Foundation education program promises to do that, and promises are very serious things. We will have it ready for schools in 2008. That's great news. I believe that if everyone sees with their eyes, learns with their minds, and then works from their hearts for others, we will make great change in our world. Next year, I also want to go to Kenya, Africa, and help the homeless children there. There are so many children in Africa who have nowhere to live, nowhere for them to grow up so they can make their own lives hopeful. Last year, we also went to Mexico, and now I have homeless friends there. Well, they aren't really homeless anymore. You see, I learned about this amazing program from my Uncle Bryce. It's called Homes of Hope in Tijuana, Mexico. I went with almost my whole family, and we met this family that lived in an abandoned car on a dump ground. They had lots of love for each other, but no home, no water, no food, no nothing. We all worked together, and when we were done, we built Christy, Leslie, and Ricardo a home. We all cried big, huge, happy tears, especially my mom, when we finished. And of course, I will always work to help our homeless people in Canada, the best way I know how.
One final thing people always ask me is how they can help. You can help homeless people in tons of ways. You can share what you have by donating food, clothing, and some of your money. But mostly what you can do is be nice to them. If they're cold, share your mitts. If they're sad, say hi to them and give them a hug. If they're hungry, lend them a sandwich. And just love them like family. They need that most of all. So many people have already helped me make the Ladybug Foundation. We will all need to work together forever to help our homeless people.
I have learned many new things in the past few years, and I will tell you one great thing and one not so great thing. Do you want the good news or the bad news first? I'll start with the not so great thing. I learned that poverty, homelessness, and hunger is not just in Canada. It's all over the world. I have learned that every 3 seconds someone dies because they don't have what I have. Food and a roof over their heads and love and care. So we have a lot of work to do. Together. All of us. But the great thing I have learned this year is that so many of you want to learn about homelessness and want to help and care.
A few final things before I have to go. I played soccer with the National Homeless Soccer Team, not last summer, but the summer before, even though I had a broken foot, but I had hard casts, so it wasn't that hard. They were the greatest group of people. The National Film Board finished their film about the work that I do. They promised me that after following me around for 2 years, that the story would really be about the people I care most about, are hungry and homeless, and it was, and I love them for doing that. My great friend Rick is in that film most of all, and that's the most important part. He knows what it's like when you are homeless, and he speaks straight from his beautiful heart. But here's a great thing that happened last summer. I was back in Toronto and I found my homeless friend Carrie again. I came around the corner where I'd first met him, and I was hoping with all my heart that he would be there. And there he was, with the biggest smile just for me. I sat down beside him and he said, "Oh Hannah, it's good to see you. I still have the sweatshirt you gave me." We talked for the longest time, just me and him. When I had to leave him on the sidewalk, I wished for him to find a place filled with love and care. Like I have, like most of us have. Carrie needs that. All homeless people need that.
I think now might also be a good time to tell you about Joe. I met Joe 2 years ago in Toronto. We had hot dogs together on a park bench. He is homeless and his heart is so very broken, and sometimes his thoughts are broken too, but we became friends. He said he trusted me because he could feel my caring. We have hot dogs together every time I get to see him.
Well, the last time I was in Toronto, it was a kind of cool night, and I was coming back to my hotel with a bunch of great books I just bought, and there on the sidewalk sleeping, all curled up with no blanket, no nothing, was Joe. My heart felt sick, but I knew what I could do. I went back to my hotel and talked to the people that worked there and told them my story, and that I needed a blanket, a pen, and paper. I would write him a note and put it in his pocket. I wanted him to know that I cared and loved him, so that's what I wrote on the note. I walked back and found him still sleeping alone on the bare, hard sidewalk. I covered him up and stuck the note in his pocket. Just as I did that, he opened his eyes and he said, "Oh, it's you, Hannah." I told him to cozy up and go back to sleep. My heart felt good to be able to do that for Joe, but sad because I had to.
I will keep teaching people about what our homeless people need, and I believe we can make a difference. We all need to care about each other and share a little of what we have. If you want to help, just call us at the Ladybug Foundation or go to our website at ladybugfoundation.ca.
So from my heart to your heart, and from your hearts to their hearts, thank you very much.